Hello and welcome to UK Cowboys Fans TV, episode 16 of season 4, if I am stand corrected. But yes, it's here for the pre-game show against whatever you want to call this team nowadays. The Washington Commanders, apparently, they're now called. Who knows? They might next year be called the Washington Sentinels or the Washington whatever. But anyway, guys, how are we doing?
I like
not too bad.
I like that last area, the Washington whatever's.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, it's such a. I just still can't come to grips with it. Like it used to be the WTF team. Obviously they're no longer called the Redskins anymore, but of all the options they had out there to pick for a new team moniker or whatever you want to call it, they probably picked the most least favorite, and even their own fans even objected to this as well. So,
yep.
They
even took everything. They took everything from the Alliance of American Football team that was based in San Antonio as well. You know,
even
it was the whole copycat thing that we were talking about. They copied us with the
that's right. That's right. You're so right. The Washington copycats. You're right. So yeah, it's yeah, and even the new uniforms, they're even trying to make a fashion statement going into this game by wearing the new black jerseys. So, what
that's because they're going to be in mourning after the end of this game. So,
you know, this is one way to dress up for their own funeral, I guess, isn't it?
Do you know what, though? Do you know the best thing about it as well? It's a nice early kickoff.
Oh, what's it? Oh, yes, that's a good point, Jamie. So, for anyone that's here within UK Cowboys fans, yes, the game is at a reasonable time for within the UK and Europe, 6 p.m. within UK time. But without further ado, we have our special guest just arriving. It's our guy next. What's happening, brother?
Hey, what's going on, my guys? How are we doing?
I do apologize for the short notice of asking you to come on, dude, but we'd love to get your insight for this pregame show that we've got against the whatever you want to call this team nowadays.
We'll keep it respectful. The Commanders.
Yeah.
We'll keep it respectful.
Yeah. So just before you just came on there, we were just highlighting for us here in the UK, it's actually a respectable time. We can actually watch a football game, which is 6 p.m. in the UK.
Okay.
So 12 p.m. Central your time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, before we move on to do the news updates, what was your thoughts about the Giants game, actually? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, the game kind of played out how I expected. We kind of previewed it over on our channel at Pick6 Sports, and they were 2-0. They were riding high. They were looking for some validity. The coaching staff has been a lot better for them this year thus far. And it was kind of like, look, it's going to be nip and tuck. It's Monday Night Football, NFC East battle. I think you're going to see some defense. You're going to see some. It's going to be like a throwback game, and it's kind of what we got. Yep. And kind of the big thing about him was simply you had to limit what Barkley did, and you understood. You had to gauge for that one big run because that's how they've played all year. And sure enough, he did get the one big run, but this defense continues to impress. We discussed the interior of the line. Shout out to Dan Quinn getting into some stunts. I thought he might get a little tricky there, which he did. D-Law gets home on a sack on that, right, as well. So, I mean, and this, not God, the amount of pressures, boy, this defense is bringing is next level type stuff.
It's ridiculous. I think, out the top of my head, I think that it's been the highest quarterback pressures in a single game all season so far throughout the whole NFL. So I think it was roughly about 25, if I'm mistaken. So that on itself is ridiculous on itself. But yeah, guys. So we're here for the pregame show against the Washington Commanders. So let's jump into the news and updates, shall we? If I can get the introduction video. So, Michael Gelkin kind of released a tweet earlier in regards to the injury report. Lauren, I'll let you kind of bring out all the news and updates for that and bring you in for that.
Yeah, so anybody that checked in yesterday's one, it's really no different. Simi Fajoko's got a shoulder injury. He was full participant. Michael Gallup, who by all accounts was, ready to play on Monday night, but just thought he could do another extra week. He's been a full participant this week. Gifford's back. He's playing full. And then Curse, DeMarcus Lawrence, Connor McGovern and Dalton Schultz are all limited. And then, of course, Dak is not practicing at the moment as he's, just waiting for the strength to get there with his thumb as well. So, but we're not in a position where we need to rush him back, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you said there, Lauren. It's no much change, but I'm not thoroughly concerned kind of going into this game. Like, obviously, I'm kind of hoping so Schultz can maybe get better in time for the game type of thing. But we kind of knew regards to Dak, he wasn't going to make this game. So, Jamie, what are your thoughts with the injuries so far?
It's just whatever. It always seems to kind of come at the wrong time for us, and obviously Dak's the main one in it. But I think how we've looked the last couple of weeks, we're not lighting the league up, but it's kind of damage limitation in it, and hopefully we can get another win or two on the board before Dak's fully fit. And like I say, give some other guys some time to get back as well, because the more depth you've got, it's always better for the team, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's kind of funny that you mentioned that it returns to death. But if there's one thing, and I'm sure you've seen this, Nick, and I'm sure everyone's seen this, is the media rampage has been going on for Cooper Rush right now to say, "Oh, he's better than Dak, he's better than this, and whatever and that." I'm just like, slow down here. It's only been 3 games. He was a better quarterback. He was cut. He's not even passed over 300 yards in the game yet. And he's only scored 2 touchdowns within that. And you're trying to say that he's the future and Dak's not? What do you think, guys? Is a bit blown out of proportion here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is blown out of proportion. It's, it's all coming on the back of, Jerry's comments last week, and
exactly
clickbait, all that sort of stuff. And
they fell for the cheese. They fell for the cheese, Lauren. They fell for the cheese from Jerry. So now here they are. Now they're going to talk about this on all the big 4-letter networks. They're going to have to square off and talk about them, and then people's going to pick it up and start breaking it down and overanalyzing it. You're absolutely right. As you said, Jerry, they fell for the cheese, and that's why Jerry was tongue in cheek and laughing about it, because he knew.
And that's why we are the number one most valuable franchise in the world of sports. It's not so. Yes, okay, we haven't had the championships, but we garner the most headlines because of what Jerry says. Everybody pricks their ears up and everything like that. I thought the one that was good this week was the Dax had an interview with somebody and said that, him just being on the sideline, he's getting to see the game slowing down, even more so, and getting to see how the plays are designed, which should help him come back. If he's getting this, you got to remember that, Dak was a 4th round pick, thrust into the lineup purely because Kellemer, day 1 of training camp, went down with a broken foot. Next thing, Tony Romo, that 3rd game, he's, that's him out for 10, 11 weeks, and, that's him. And other than, he's when he had the compound fracture of his foot, obviously he goes to IR, he can't be on the sidelines. You then got COVID and stuff like that. So when he was, particularly because of the COVID, he wasn't able to be on the sidelines there. And he's now actually getting to be on the sidelines because we haven't put him on injured reserve. He gets to be on the sidelines. He gets to see all this, and this should help with his development, if nothing else. So,
I would say I came to her as well after the touchdown towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird. Like, it's such a Jerry thing to do, just to kind of bring anything up to make those media headlines. And frankly, as a Cowboys as Cowboys fans is get to the point now can we just think it's like, Jerry, can you just like stay away from the camera, stay away from the microphones, and let us actually focus on football and try and get the win? Like him putting this unnecessary pressure and tension within the plus is not going to help one single bit at all.
Do you know what though? You look at it that way as well, but kind of behind closed doors, every owner, every GM, every head coach wants a QB controversy, don't they? And I mean that in terms of because it's only better for the team if Cooper Rush thinks he's got a chance to keep Dak out of the team for a few more weeks than possible. It's going to elevate his play. It's then going to elevate Dak's play to get back in the team a lot quicker. And they say it's competition, healthy competition for the team. It's just, like I say, it's the Cowboys, and the media like to spin it and make out that Jerry's trying to give up on Dak in some kind of random weird way. It's for them. Any other team, it wouldn't have been spun out of control like it is. It's funny to watch sometimes. Like you say, it's like a soap opera of the team as well, isn't it?
It does generally feel like sometimes our team is pretty much a reality TV show at times, but hey. But enough that being said, let's go straight into it. We're here for the pregame. Let's go and let me get my words correctly here. I do apologize. Let's jump into the offense. So the Dallas Cowboys are playing against a Washington defense who are kind of been mixed across the board so far. As far as I'm aware, in terms of their defense, their pass rush is ranked 23rd overall. Their run defense is ranked 26th overall. And this is according to PFF stats. In terms of the Washington's defensive stats, they only have 8 sacks in total with 13 tackles for losses overall in comparison to the Dallas Cowboys. We've got 13 sacks and 20 tackles for losses. So my question is for you guys, and we'll start with you next. Where do you think our offense has the best opportunity beating the Commanders?
Yeah, I think you kind of established an identity the last 2 weeks, right? And this is something that we've talked about, within Kellen Moore's scheme for a while is what are we? Who are we? And what is this identity of this team? And I think it kind of goes back to week 1. And we kind of saw that game plan. It was very reminiscent of the Niners playoff game and maybe some of the hits and misses there towards the last stretch of the season, last half there. And then you heard Mike McCarthy that week leading up to the Bengals game really have some things to say about the offense. I don't like option routes.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't seen no option routes all of a sudden. He talks about, hey, when you have certain players, whenever he was doing the play calling in San Francisco, he knew he had a section on his play call sheet of 10 or so plays there for Jerry Rice. I think he was sending the message when it comes to Pollard, what we banged the table about using Pollard. Not, oh, well, Zeke's been in 2 series. All right, Pollard, now you go in there and just run the same plays. And that's what we've seen the past 2 weeks is they've actually schemed guys and put them in positions to be effective with their skill sets. So we have an identity. And I think with that being said, you stick to your identity at this point. One of the things, as you were talking about, there was some of the stats when it comes to Washington. They're missing some big guys up front, right? Ioannidis is out. He's out with an injury, right? They're missing Chase Young. He's still out with an injury. Their linebacking core, they've moved Cole to the inside. He's kind of found his way with the green dot. Now Davis started out of the gate not too good. He's played with the last couple of weeks. And from the Washington Commanders content creators I talked to, they don't want to talk about the other 2 linebackers. So that front 7 sounds like they have some issues, and that kind of lines up what the Cowboys have been doing with this run game. And you stick to what you do here is what I would look at where the Cowboys have the ability to keep this win streak going and be effective here on Sunday against Washington.
Yeah. They've got guys that are individually they're performing. There's not the cohesion as a unit that we have with our defense. Micah Parsons, who was 65% on Monday night. He was creating one-on-one matchups for DeMarcus Lawrence. So OC, Golston, whoever was on the field, Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, Sam Williams, and we're getting the play from everybody, and they're not. They haven't got that cohesion down yet, and it is because they are missing, their big disruptive guys like Chase Young and Ioannidis and what have you. So,
Right.
It's. I think this is still a game. I think we can put our imprint on this, and we should still be able to run the ball, which needs to be the identity of this offense. You don't want this being on Cooper Rush's throwing potential. You don't want him behind the chains and constantly having to go third and long.
Yeah, and another thing too, when it comes down to the defense for Washington, is they'll get stops, and you'll talk about. I think they have somewhere around 17 plays where they've given up like a 20-yard gain, but realistically, it kind of bolts into their offense being not good out the gate, and they get a little tired, they get a little gassed, if you will. So, I mean, against the Eagles, I think they were still like -1 passing yard in the third quarter, right? So, this defense is not only are they don't have the cohesion as Lauren's talking about there, they're missing bodies as well. And then you get to the fact that this offense can't establish anything early. So they're getting gashed here and there because they're getting tired at times. And boy, when you start talking about people getting gashed and tired at times, the way this run game has been, especially last week in New York, when you get Pollard over 100 yards, you get Zeke averaging 4.9 with about 75 yards. 20, what ended up 29 carries between the two of them. Yeah, that matters. And, that's why I say you got to stick to who you are. What you've been the last 2 weeks should be this formula, not just right now with Rush, but when Dak comes back, this should be the formula as well.
Yeah, Jamie, I'll throw in this question for you because in regards to like the Cooper Rush, he does seem to have, especially in the passing game right now, he tends to have his number one target, which seems to be Noah Brown right now. Like over kind of like we do see CD Lamb getting involved, yeah, but because I think with the continuity between Noah Brown and Cooper Rush, because they were like second stringers, they had more time to work with each other, whereas like Dak and Lamb are more that, or Dak or Dalton Schultz. My question is for you, Jamie. Do you think we can expect to see Noah Brown get more involvement with this game as well, with Cooper Rush still being in the helms right at this moment?
I would imagine so. I'd like to see him get involved early. I know, like Lauren and Nick said, obviously tried to establish an identity and run the ball, keep the ball. It's worked, especially last week. But from time to time, the run game's not going to work. So you've got to go to your trusted guy. And Noah Brown's clearly showing that, and he's showing he could potentially be a capable number 2 receiver in this league. And it's not just the kind of little nitty-gritty kind of catches. Do you know what I mean? Like the short yardage, he's making big plays down the sidelines, and that's what you do. Like you're saying, you've got to have confidence in your quarterback throwing the ball a little bit deep from time to time. Because how many times have we seen it before where we've all moaned in the various groups that we throw too many short slant routes or too many short routes. It's a hole, and it's like, come on, get the ball out. You know what I mean? You could push that to CD Lamb. You know what I mean? Like, especially the last touchdown, the one that catch. You've got to put your receivers in them positions. You know what I mean? You get them to go up and make big plays, and naturally, I mean that's what these guys are making at the minute. So you know what I mean, keep it going. But yeah, Noah Brown's definitely. He's showing what he can do. Just like you say, hopefully, fingers. I mean, we obviously want to see Talbot on the field and Gallup on there, but hopefully his game time is not going to get affected when some guys get back into it as well.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of point this out, I've got Noah Brown statistics here after 3 games. So he's had 15 recorded passes out of 21 targets, and a total of 213 yards, which is an average of 14.2 yards with 1 touchdown. And his biggest gain so far has been a 28 yard. I mean, that's actually pretty decent.
Hey, Paul.
Yes.
Pull up Amari Cooper stats real quick for me.
Oh, don't do this.
Pull him up. No, just pull him up.
I know. I know where you're doing with this. I know what you're. I know.
Pull them Amari Cooper stats.
I'm bringing them up. Yeah. So with Amari Cooper, 19 recorded targets under 27, 219 with an average of 11.5 with 2 touchdowns. That's
So
I see what you did there, actually. I was expecting that to be a lot more.
That's why I said with all the talk about Cooper and everything, that guy Brown is right there with what Cooper's done so far.
Yeah, and the stats don't lie.
I think we said it in the group a couple of weeks ago. I said a couple of weeks ago, last week or the week before. Some of his catches as well have been pretty spectacular at times.
Like you said, the interception, absolutely, because in the first half, that early reception he caught, that's easy interception if Noah Brown doesn't climb the ladder and go get that thing. You're absolutely right, Jamie.
And some of them seem very Des-esque. I'm not saying he's as good as Des Bryant, but like he's in some of them catches, it's something that you were used to seeing Des go up and doing. It's good to see that someone on that roster can go up and make these kind of catches that you want to see your receivers make.
I think for all of us as fans, like from where Noah Brown was more of a fringe player, he's definitely elevated being a proper, at least a number 3 in the team now.
Yeah,
like the way he's been performing right now. But we kind of mentioned like the run game and that. I do want to kind of mention the offensive line. And then we've got a lot of positives to talk about in this. Like, there is still a couple of nicks and crannies there and there, but overall, we can't help but we can't complain. The past couple of weeks, and I'm one of the biggest critics of the offensive lineman coach and Joe Philbin, but he is actually starting to make the continuity start to work now, and I don't know what were your guys' thoughts with Jason Peters' debut with those 14 snaps? We'll start with you, Lauren, and we'll work our way around.
I think he has this was an immense game for him. It was only 13 or 14 snaps, but as Brian Broaddus in his breakdown said, there was only one that he didn't really know the playbook on. Peters came off after that game and said, that is his preseason game. He's ready to go full time from this week. Mm-hmm. So, look for him to be in at left guard this week, full time. But I think, you're talking about Philbin and you're talking about Blasco, the assistant offensive line coach. They've now got a third coach because Jason Peters has been taking guys like Biadish. He's taking Tyler Smith under his wing as well and just talking to them, during practice, giving them little tips and things like that. Something which, as good as Tyron Smith is, as good as Zach Martin is, that they're not known for being forthright and actually trying to help guys a lot. Or, it's never been reported that they're taking guys under their wing and helping them out. The way that these guys are saying that Jason Peters is coming in and he's taking them for a couple hours after the practices and the official practices are over with, and he's taking them for another couple of hours and saying, right, do this, do that, watch this tape here, and they're bringing things up and they're learning so much in the classroom that they're then translating it onto the field as well. And I think that's why Tyler Smith has hit the ground running the way he has. Again, we were all doom and gloom when we heard that Tyron Smith was out. I think, it's early days and there's bound to be games where he has a stinker, but, we should be encouraged by what we're seeing from these guys.
Thanks. What about yourself? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just think it's a multi-layer here to a certain extent because, and we'll exclude that getting hurt in the first year with Mike McCarthy here, but we move past that. And what we've seen underneath Mike McCarthy that we didn't get from the previous coaching staff is outside of your quarterback, even though they've won 3 games now the past 2 years without the quarterback, just the injuries would happen to key guys, and it would just be downhill from that. And we just couldn't find a way to win, right? And the one thing we've seen underneath Mike McCarthy is a propensity for them to be effective and get wins when guys are missing.
Mm-hmm.
And now that time kind of takes us to the Tyron Smith thing, because we did win games without Tyron Smith last year. It just at that position wasn't as good as what we're seeing from Tyler Smith. And, the biggest argument, at least coming from me, I'll speak for me, was simply whenever they were in doing the joint practice against the Bengals, and I caught Nick Eatman, and he was talking about, well, basically Connor McGovern's getting all these reps at left guard with the ones because of due to the availability of Tyron Smith. And right then I was like, okay, so their plan is to move Tyler, but they're not giving him any reps. They gave him some reps like the rookie OTAs, and like that was it. And then boom, we knew it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when Tyron got hurt. And then it happened, right? So as it happened, here you are, and they just threw him out there. I didn't like it. I didn't think it was a great plan. I didn't like it at the time of the Broncos. I literally was on there. I was like, look, man, I know that Philbin is Mike McCarthy's guy. I'd get rid of him right now. That's where I was. I was like, this is not good. But
you're not the only one, man. I felt the exact same way.
Yeah.
We all kind of have that same mutual kind of feeling towards Joe Philbin.
Right.
But yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. No, you're fine. But sometimes you just get a guy that has enough talent that can go out here irregardless and do certain things. And he did on the 73. He did talk about Larry Allen. And we know Larry Allen was an all-pro all across the offensive line. And, and the one thing I talked about, because I was higher on the draft than a lot of people were, look, yes, there was things on the board when Tyler got selected, but I understood the pick. And, and Paul, actually, you was a part of one of the spaces we did leading up about 2 weeks. And I told people, I was like, look, there's a propensity for them to go tackle here, to plug him in at guard and be the eventual replacement. And then we got to draft night, boom, and it happened, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So here we are, and now you got to see. And then this is starting last week, and I was like, at what point they're just going to leave? Because you go the first 2 weeks and how Tyler Smith played. Okay, so at what point you just leave him out there? And with the Peters thing, and there was a lot of back and forth. Well, he's not playing guard, and he's 40, and there's things. But I'm like, but you're making two changes. We talk about continuity. We banged the table last year about this offensive line and continuity. I'm like, so y'all want to move him inside? Look, we all believe that he'll be really good at a guard when we talk about Tyler Smith. But what we do know, we don't know that. What we do know is he's being effective at left tackle. So I'm okay with Peters, who's the Band-Aid for this year, not the long-term answer here. And that's why I kind of compared the two Smiths. This is the Dak and Rumble, just a left tackle. No, he wasn't supposed to be the guy yet. Injury forced him in, and he's improving. I don't want to mess with that. And he goes inside. Then 4 or 5 weeks later, Peters gets hurt. Now you're moving him back out to left tackle. And we've all pounded the table about Cowboys stop taking young players and moving them everywhere. Let them sit somewhere, let them play, and let them go. So I like the fact that they're doing that. And look, and you saw Peters, the very first play, they ran right off his ass, excuse my language. And it was, a 30-yard gain. I'm like, seems to be working okay to me. So, yeah, I'm very much so the mindset of not moving Tyler Smith. I was the week leading up to the Giants game. And then we see him out there on the 3rd and 12, and he's not getting 1, he's not getting 2, but he's getting 3 Giants. He's going downfield. And I think it just kind of solidifies the fact that you just leave that guy there, and it looks like a home run for them here at pick 24 with Tyler Smith. And then you just worry about that one position where you have 3 different options. Farnock's had his ups and downs. Connor McGovern's had his ups and downs, and then you have Peters there as well to step in. But the rest of the line seems pretty set. And allow me to eat a little bit of crow because I didn't like the competitions, quote unquote. They said they were going to have it center because I don't think it happened. But boy, the growth of Tyler Biadasz here.
I was about to talk about Biadasz in a wee second.
Joe Philbin. Okay, all right, Philbin.
I'm so glad you mentioned Tyler Biadasz because he's been given a lot of crack and criticism over the past couple of years, and in a way it was kind of rightly deserved in a way. But that game there against the Giants, I don't know if you may have noticed, there was one particular play where they did a check. It was a check option where they were checking where there was the linebackers coming down to near the line. And there was one safety at the back, and Cooper Rush changed it all, and you saw immediately Tyler Biadasz communicating with the rest of the line, realigning their blocks. That is what we were missing from Biadasz, was the communication side.
Mm-hmm.
We know Biadasz can block to a certain degree, but it is when you miscommunicate with your fellow offensive lineman and you might miss like misaligned block. That's when mistakes happen and opens up the gaps for likes of the interiors and the linebackers to blitz through. So you'd got to give credit for Bayadish on that game because I thought he looked very composed, and yeah, he's definitely kind of starting to flourish this year. Game by game, he looks better, getting better and better. And but yeah, as much as I still kind of have a wee bit jealous saying this, credit to Joe Philbin. I have to put my hands up on that one.
But in the other side of it too is it goes back to what you're doing offensively, because going into this, when you have an offensive line that's not completely settled or whatnot, running the ball is much easier to go out here and attack and go forward than with your pass pro. And week 1, they had some issues with the pass pro. We saw that. But now you're not putting them in that position and you're seeing them excel. And those are the things that matter. So again, you can have talent anywhere, but if the coaching doesn't put you in the right, or don't set you up to be able to follow through with what you're able to do properly, that's when you get in trouble. So right now, there's just that good cohesiveness here between what this offensive line is and the play call that they're doing now. And it just matters. They're athletic. We kind of understood that. You're seeing them pull. You're seeing them get out on the edge, and just things that we consistently asked for. So right now, it's in a good space. It's early. It's a long season. But right now, with what they have on the offensive line and how they're designing and calling these plays, specifically in the run design, has benefited what they have here.
Of course, especially when you're talking about likes of the run game, and this is a good wee segment of what I was about to ask next, is the 1-2 punch combination we're having with Zeke and Pollard right now. I'm starting to really fall in love with this. Like, even though we're getting Pollard more involved, which is great, it keeps defenses thinking for sure. But we all know Zeke is that power horse type of running back. He's there to gain those early yards, essentially now. But we did get to see in that Giants game the old Zeke managed to get in the upfield. I think it was the beautiful block from Tyler Smith getting upfield and that insight, and with Noah Brown of all people sealing the edge as well, like coming from the wide receiver position and sealing. I think it was Kayvon Thibodeaux he actually sealed. No, so it's Ujulari he sealed. Sorry, and Tyler Smith's running at the backfield, and that's what we would love to see in a regular basis. So it's just like you said there, Nix, is keeping that continuity going. But guys, like, do you think we're going to see a lot more of this 1-2 punch combination against this pretty much deteriorated Giants defense? The Commanders defense this weekend.
Yep, I think we are, and I think again what's been good this year with the way that they're handling this 1-2 punch is that in previous years it would be Zeke for a drive, it'd be Pollard for a drive, it'd be Zeke for a drive, Pollard for a drive. This time it's Zeke for 2 plays, Pollard for a couple of plays, and they're mixing it up so that the defenses haven't actually, it's almost like, for a long time, Cowboys fans, going back to when the Cowboys offensive line used to do the Landry shift where you bounce up and then the backs are split out and you're like, wait a minute, who's in the backfield this time and all this sort of thing. It's creating that confusion because they're sending, as I said on Tuesday, they're sending Pollard up the middle as well. They're sending Zeke on the outside as well because they've, again, this offensive line is blocking. Extend it further, you're playing 12 personnel at points, so you've got your 2 tight ends that are actually able to block as well. Even Dalton Schultz, when he's been in, Dalton Schultz has been blocking better this year as well. So
sorry, Lauren, but don't forget Matt Litstow actually was on for one play, playing as the inside tight end in one play as well. So Litstow's back now, so. Which is a great bonus because we did have questions to see where Matt Litstow, who is an offensive lineman, but at least he can now kind of slowly gradually get back up to speed and hopefully, and if someone, like, unfortunately, we don't want anyone to go down, obviously, because the way how our line's going right now, but hopefully Litstow can try and get back up to speed, try and be on par with the rest of the line in that way. But yeah, you're absolutely right, man. Like, and Jamie, like, I want to ask you this next one before we kind of move on. It's like, do you think, we're talking about likes of the 12 man, so your likes of it's going to be likely with Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot. Do you think we'll expect to see them more to kind of contribute to the run, and also maybe even see them more in the passing routes this time around?
I think last week showed that they're definitely capable of it. You know what I mean? There were a couple of catches here and there, and I were impressed with the way that Jake Ferguson was blocking in the red zone. I think especially for the Zeke touchdown. It seems to be that one where we could definitely rely on it. So I think as well, you've got to make this offense QB friendly, aren't you? Because he's not going to light up the league. Make it easier for him. Like I say, put a lot of this 12-man. I mean, not in a respectful way, dumb it down a little bit. Like I say, don't give this fast open playbook where he's not going to be able to make a lot of the throws. So go down, get the Titans involved. That's what you've got them there for. You've got them on the roster, but use them to his advantage, and use Cooper Rush the best way that he can do. I definitely, if we don't see it, I'd be very disappointed. Like I say, because these guys, you want to see them take leaps and bounds week after week, and they seem to be doing that, and they seem to be getting a grasp of the pro game a lot quicker than you might have thought they would have done for where they were picked up.
Yeah, I think look, Dalton Schultz is getting treatment 24/7 right now after this last game.
Mm-hmm.
Look, and when you go and look at the tape, these two young guys, you know, they block and they block with purpose. I mean, Hendershot pancake linebacker.
Intentions is like control the direction.
Intentions. Yeah,
control the direction with bad intentions.
Yeah,
that's what I love to see.
Yeah, so you know, Dalton. Hey, look, and I like Dalton Schultz. Don't get me wrong, but I was very high on Ferguson as the draft pick.
I think I was on your stream, your live of the draft at the time when the Ferguson pick came in, and we were really happy about that.
Yeah,
because I can't remember who it was we missed out on. It was the tight end that went to the Baltimore Ravens, which was like 2 picks before
Isaiah Likely.
That's the one. Yeah, we were quite keen on him, but we were quite happy the fact that we managed to get Ferguson as well.
Yeah, and you know, and getting Hendershot undrafted and coming from the Indiana program, look, was considered to be, oh yeah, he's a seam guy. He's your Blake Jarwin-esque more so than what Ferguson is going to be, right? Hendershot said, no, I'm here to block, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get it twisted. And again, it's great. Here's the thing about it. As we did a 53-man breakdown going into the season, for me, I said, this is the deepest the tight end room has been to me in years. And I think it showed itself definitely against the Giants. And now you can lose a guy within the 3 and still feel pretty good if you want to get into 12 personnel. Unlike last season, look, once Jarwin went down, sure, when McKeon was back, you could do it some, but they just wasn't comfortable doing it once Jarwin was out of the game. Yeah. And with these 3, you can still get to it and feel pretty confident about playing 12 personnel, which is really important for the Cowboys and what they're trying to do.
See, this is exactly you made a really great point earlier, Next. It's like, and this is not just for the tight ends, but this is like kind of overall within the O-line, within quarterback. Like years ago, if you were to lose one of your star players, it's pretty much season over. Right. It seems like as of right now, we can still plug in players and still do our job right now. And I think that's the big major difference with Mike McCarthy under the ring. He still managed to get even backups to kind of perform up to a high level. So, but with that being said, is there any more thoughts before we move on to the defense?
The only thing I will say is pre-snap penalties and some of the the offense. Just saying, they need to make sure we clean that up a little bit.
Yeah, that was the only criticism I did say in my last article on bloggingtheboys.com is like we had a perfect game against Cincinnati where we gave up no false starts, no holding penalties, but we did kind of go back and surprisingly the biggest culprit was Tyler Smith, and I think the other one was on
Farniok.
It was
Farniok had the hold.
Yeah. So it was, I mean, 3 penalties. No. I can live with that, but still, it was a momentum killer. That's the main problem, though. We were moving the ball really, really nicely. and it killed the momentum. We ended up had to settle for field goals because of it.
Yeah, and the big thing about that was Jason Peters immediately went up to Smith. It's like, hey, don't worry about it. And that's just some of the growth. Well, not I won't say growth. That's some of the leadership that you're getting from that guy who's been in the league as long as he hasn't been 40, is being that voice. And it's talked about before he signed here, whether he was playing or not. One of the big things was about the mentorship that he could bring in here and for Tyler Smith. And it was mentioned a little bit even about Tyler Biadasz as well.
Yeah.
So it was on display. With him and some of the things that was talked about during the game. And also, too, we're talking about penalties. I'm just saying, Noah Brown, not once, but twice. For God's sake.
No, 3 times. I think there was 3 occasions it should have. There was the one where is it Julian Love and the linebacker pretty much was holding him in the middle of the field. There was the one in the end zone. I think there were maybe 2 in the end zone or something like that. But still, I think it was because Roger Goodell was in the crowd watching his Giants. I don't know what it is.
There was some home cooking. There was some home cooking.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. There was a lot of favoritism.
Michael Parsons held like a million times there wasn't one whole call. I'm like, come on, you got to start respecting my guy and giving him the calls. Rookie, maybe you don't get these calls, but what he's done in the league and move forward, you got to start giving them calls up, man. Come on.
Yeah,
just when you said about the bad calls, what about the one in the end zone? Even the commentators kind of tried to
they even brought in the actual NFL referee that does the commentary to say, that should have been pass interference.
Yeah. But the worst thing about it is that if that would have been the other way around, and if that would have been on our defense, that would have been flagged before he even
without a shadow.
Yeah. And what gets me is they actually have guys up in the booth. It's not a case of the officials on the field needing to refer. If the guys up in the booth will actually see something, they can stop it and they can say, right, you should have called that there, you should have called that there, and you sort it out. Yeah. We're not seeing that. And again, it's also being broadcast to headquarters in New York as well. So it's not like it's going transatlantic or cross continental. So you're not. It's not like there's a 5-second delay or anything. There should be a decision made there and then, and that was absolutely blatant on all of those occasions. Now, as I say, offensive holding happens all the time on every play.
I will say, Lauren, it's like when you compare to some of the holds with the Giants offensive line to the one that Matt Waletzko got, which was very, very hard to really notice. When like I'm sorry, but the referees really did have an absolute terrible game, like in terms of picking out things. It did feel like there was favoritism, but anyway, enough that being said, let's move on to almost nearly everything going on into this is all positive. Let's talk about the defense. So let me go. So with the Cowboys defense, Micah Parsons now is still currently the sack leader. He didn't get any sacks during the game against the Giants. He does cause a lot of major disruption. Getting I think it was 6 total tackles with 2 QB hits, and DeMarcus Lawrence came out the woodwork, got 3 sacks. Should have got 5. Kind of relates back to what we were saying about the referees being terrible. Guys, how do we feel about our defense going against Carson Wentz, who has been sacked 15 times so far this season, which is the second highest besides Joe Burrow? What do you think?
Prince Harry lookalike's going to get an absolute mauling in this game.
I like that one, Jerry.
Jamie. I said it in pre-season that this defense. This defensive line for me, it showed a lot of progression last year. That there was going to be the top sack leaders in their position, and they're just going to add to that this week. They can absolutely destroy.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, I've got the numbers for the total tackles there. Like, most notable, Micah Parsons has only got 10 and Diggs has only got 9. But when I'll bring up the actual sack leaders as well. So as you can see, Parsons with 4, Demarcus Lawrence with 3, Dorrance Armstrong's now up to 3, LVE with 1, and Dante Fowler Jr. with 1. And in terms of the takeaway leaders, the stats is quite low when you really think about it. It's because our defensive front are doing their job properly. It's like they're getting to the quarterback before the quarterback gets even a sniff to even throw the ball right now. So Diggs with 6 with 1 interception, Brown with 2 pass deflections, Wilson with 2 and 1 interception. So it's very, very small stats in terms of that. But yeah, like it's very interesting to see because with the Commandos' offensive line, they're going through their injury woes as well. Like, I mean, 15 sacks so far this season is quite the feat. It's an average of 5 sacks per game.
9 against the Eagles.
Yeah.
And it's not all their offensive line that's, you know, particularly in that Eagles game. I mean, Carson Wentz was holding on to the ball for far too long. Whether it was coverage sack, you know, what you class as a coverage sack because there was nobody open. But, I mean, God's sakes, if you've got somebody coming in trying to bury you in the ground, throw the ball away and, you know, at worst you're going to get hit and, you know, you'll get 15 yards because it's unnecessary roughness or something like that. But, you know, the longer you hold, if you hold on to the ball, you're fair game. And, you know, as I say, at least half of those sacks were purely because he held on to that ball for far too long.
Yeah, I want to bring up this interesting statistic for Carson Wentz against the Cowboys overall. Since 2016, since he was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles or Sheedos, whatever you want to call them as well. He's won 4 and lost 4. And I did my little research on this. The games that he's actually won always seems to be at the end of the season. So make of that what you will, because either the Cowboys have already won the division and want to rest up the starters, or the season's just generally over and look to play their second string and first string players for the future. Do you think that's a kind of fair assumption based on that, and it kind of questions Wentz's ability against us? We'll start with yourself next.
Yeah, it's just so far removed since it's been that time. You know, different coaches. You know, and obviously the defenses that he faced then versus what he's looking at now is completely night and day.
Oh, it's going to be, yeah.
You know, so, yeah, I think for that time capsule, sure, absolutely. I think that was definitely a fair assessment. I think for this game in particular, it doesn't factor as much just because of where the Cowboys are defensively and how they're moving now. I did want to touch on one thing, though, when it comes to this pass rush of Micah Parsons. And the one thing that I'm seeing from him last year to this year, last year he was getting his numbers, right? This year, and what I'm seeing the evolution from him is he's getting his numbers, but now he's not a rookie. So teams are, okay, where is he at? And they're moving, you know, blocking and different things. So they're sending people. So now he's affecting the rest of the line. He's getting what I call those old assist sacks now. Is what he's doing. So now he's changing the front. He's still getting his numbers, but because of the attention to different things that are happening now, Dorrance Armstrong's coming through. Oh, LVE cleans up and gets a sack because Micah had to force him to do up and things. And so, like, whenever you see what Von Miller has done so far for the Bills, right? They didn't do a lot of sacks last year. The Bills did overall, but he showed up. He's getting his, but you're seeing also all defensive tackles are getting sacks, and you're seeing more pass rush from them because of the Miller effect. And now what you're starting to see now here early this season from last year, Parsons getting his numbers last year, but now not only is he doing that this year, but he's getting guys open to go get their numbers as well, which is huge for this pass rush so far.
That is a great point you've just made there, because looking back at the Giants game last week, every single of that defensive line unit, just the D line, like I don't know too sure about the linebackers that all played, but every single one of the defensive line did record a single tackle. Like they all contributed towards the game. I mean, that is pretty amazing. So in terms of the stats as well, the Cowboys are second in terms of the pass rush grade on PFF. The Bills are ranked number 1. Cowboys are the sack leaders as of right now, with the Bills in third and the Eagles line in second with 12. It's quite interesting to see how this is going to play out. I really do think it's going to be a long day for Carson Wentz and this Commanders offensive line. But Jamie, what do you think? Like, do you think for likes of Micah Parsons, obviously he didn't get the numbers we expected, because obviously he had the bug and stuff like that. He's now pretty much close to full fit. He's pretty much back to normal, essentially, based on the reports. Do you think we expect to see him to kind of just go out and just actually basically go crazy on Carson Wentz?
Yeah, to be fair, even though like you say, we were a little bit off it last week, he still had a fairly big impact on the game. It's just it's a little bit reminiscent sometimes of what happened with D-Law, where he had the massive sack season, and everyone just looks at the stats and thinks, right, he's got all these sacks, he's got all these QB pressures, and I think everyone kind of looks at that all the time, don't they? And then I think it was we had Brad Cham a while ago, and he kind of went, well, but what does he do that's not on the stat sheet? And that's what sometimes Micah Parsons probably doesn't get a lot of credit for. If you could really kind of say that of someone that's an all-pro, arguably the best defensive player in the NFL at the minute, that it causes a lot of double teams, it creates a lot of gaps for everybody else to make plays, and that's sometimes you don't really hear about from him. But yeah, I think this is probably the game to kind of ease his way back in after a little bit of a bug. But I think there's one just to kind of deflect away from him. You mentioned his name's running through a lot of them. Being extremely impressed with Donald Armstrong this year. For me, definitely probably the most improved player on this roster. I think we're at 2 sacks. He got 2 sacks this week, and he also got a block on the field goal as well. It's like he seems really rejuvenated this year, and he's thriving in this Dan Quinn system. And I mean, fingers crossed it kind of flows down to the guys that are kind of trying to make the roster and only get a few snaps a game, because I mean, he's taking your chances, isn't he? He's definitely doing it this year. Mm-hmm. Arguably, keeps playing like this. Could probably say he's the team's defensive MVP as well.
I'm glad you. Sorry. No, you go on.
Right, I was going to say, I think Dorrance Armstrong last year, everybody's moaning about the fact that we lost Randy Gregory. Dorrance Armstrong last year had 5 sacks. How many sacks did Randy Gregory have? He had 5 as well, right? So they were actually matching on that. You could say Randy Gregory was better in run defense. I think Dorrance Armstrong's picking that up this year. I think he's building, okay, his curve hasn't been as meteoric as Randy Gregory's was, but we're actually getting to see him now performing. We've not had, obviously we missed out on bringing Randy Gregory back, boo-hoo, but we got Fowler, we got Dorrance Armstrong for that money, and it's a feather in Jerry's cap, if you want to say, because they're getting the same sort of performance that they would have had with Randy Gregory. And these guys, again, they're developing. And I think, they're building on the fact that Micah Parsons is putting them in positions where they're going one-on-one. They've only got one man to beat or whatever. And, that's allowing them to focus on that. I mean, if, Lawrence Taylor was at the game on Monday night, he picked up on the fact that Micah Parsons, if you look at the stat sheet, it was a fairly substandard game for Micah Parsons, flu or not. But you could see that the way the Giants were focusing on where Micah was, double teaming him, triple teaming him, whatever. And, because of that, our defense was built that, D-Law had 3 sack game for about first time in about 3 or 4 years, getting contribution from everybody. And, it just goes to show what a talent Micah Parsons is. But, these guys are coming on because they're creating that pressure on the back of what Micah Parsons is doing.
it's that thing you want as well, in terms of, like you said, at the minute, if you look at it from just a stats perspective, that, yeah, we've probably seen Micah Parsons so far. His stats are probably not as reminiscent of what he was at this stage of last year, but it's not down to down to poor play. It's because the guys up front are stepping up their game. So you'd like to see it that way. I mean, you don't want to see it go down because he's just not playing well, and he's not built on his own way. I mean, the guys are stepping up, and they're like, you know what? And that's down to Micah Parsons as well. Is the way he's playing. He's a leader, not just with his mannerisms and how he talks, but he's a leader on the field as well. And that's what you want. And these guys are really clearly look up to him and clearly feed off the what's the word to say? The way that he plays. I mean, they're all buying into that as well. So it's that double-edged sword, but in a good way.
I suppose this kind of runs into, like, even though Micah Parsons does kind of play in the part with the run defense, but for this next question I've got for you guys, it's like, I do have a bit of an issue of where the Cowboys are ranked with some rankings right now in terms of their run defense. Some teams have them ranked 19th in their run defense, which I think personally is a bit of a bad tape, but when you really consider what they've done so far. I mean, but what do you guys think? Like, because we're seeing like the defensive tackles, like they're not maybe getting all the numbers and stuff like that, but when you watch the film, they're getting into their gaps, like likes of Bohanna or Odigizua. They're forcing the running backs to kind of force out wide. And that's where you see where like the LVE comes into play, getting them out on the outside. So I just want to know, do you think like how the rankings are for the Cowboys just now is kind of unjustified and they deserve a lot more credit?
I think they do. I think, as we discussed on Tuesday night, I think, half of these rankings
Tuesday
are
morning, you mean?
Tuesday morning, sorry, yeah.
Depending on where you're at, on the globe.
half of these rankings are, they're based on statistics, and you can say there are lies, damn lies, in statistics. Now, look at that Giants game. The focus of our defense was obviously stop Saquon Barkley. All but one run of 36 yards, and Saquon Barkley would have only had 13 carries for 45 yards. You would say that was good. Because you were focused on Saquon Barkley, and because the pass rush was coming round and everything like that, Danny Dimes, when he was able to, he'd scramble out the pocket. He ran for another 79 yards. Together, that's 160 odd yards or whatever. And you could, from a statistical point of view, you could say, yeah, we've given up 160 yards.
In fact, I misconception. One of the rankings actually had the Cowboys 27th.
Yeah.
And that was on PFF. They had them down as 27.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
PFF.
Yeah.
I don't rock with PFF. News alert for those that don't know. I don't deal with PFF no more. I think there's certain things they do well. To be honest with y'all, overall, I don't use them to prove my point, and I don't use them to. At a certain point this offseason, and a lot of it had to do with like the digs and different things that was going on. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm good. I'm just good on that. So I'm out. But here's the thing, though, Paul. Shh, let them rank us low. Yeah. Shh, let us be the underdog. Oh, we're not good.
Absolutely.
Fine. That's cool. Yeah. Let's not be up top in front. Let's just sit back here and be that underdog role, baby.
See, that's a great perspective. Because how many times have we actually got ourselves into that scenario, getting over ahead of ourselves, and it just comes back to slap us across the face? We don't want to be doing that this year, especially.
Hey. And quietly, I'll say this, and I said this on the show last night as well. This has a lot of the makeup of a trap game for the Cowboys.
Potentially. Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you have 1 and 2, right? And now they're 0-1 in the division. They lost 2 straight. Hey, you don't want to go 0-2 in the division now. Things are kind of coming to a head here for them. The Cowboys, it was catty ball the door. The season's over. Now you go beat the Bengals. You go on the road Monday night and you go against the 2-0 Giants. You beat them. You're feeling pretty good about yourself now all of a sudden. What's going on? And it has some recipe there. If you fall asleep at the wheel, don't fall for the cheese, Cowboys Nation. Don't do it because there's some recipes here. I smell the soup kitchen around the corner. It sounds like they're trying to cook up a whole batch of that trap stew. And I'm like, hey, let's pay attention.
Well, especially if you consider you've got the Rams coming, or you're going to the Rams the following week, so you could be excused for looking ahead to the Rams game.
Right? And then you got the Eagles coming up right after the Lions and Eagles, right? So there's some bigger games maybe on your docket. I'm with you there, Lauren. Absolutely, it's a part of it too. Another little ingredient in that old trap stew.
Jamie, you were about to say something.
Not saying that they're as good or would even be as good, but in terms of like how Paul was saying there, do you know what I mean? Like the defense pretty lowly ranked for what you would think it would be. As a little now, was it the 94 and 95 defense was statistically ranked number one across the board in the NFL. Not one Pro Bowl kind of nomination for that defense. You know what I mean? Let's say let them be ranked, let them chip on the shoulder. It just gives them another reason to go out get people to hate us even more than we already do. You know what I mean? It's, like I say, right, hate us at your peril. They talk about us because they want to be us.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, Jamie. But I think we'll finish off with this last thing before we move on to do the fantasy lounge, and we'll get everyone's predictions in for the game. Trayvon Diggs and the secondary. Are we worried at all? Because like everyone's now we're using the whole stat line and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, there was a couple of plays during that Giants game. Trayvon should have got 2 interceptions, but are we worried at all because of the lack of numbers so far? I mean, it's only been 3 games. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not worried at all. Like if the secondary are actually having lower stats, then that means our defensive front are doing all the work and doing their job.
Yeah, definitely. Good one.
No, what I'd say is obviously if your defensive line is getting pressure, getting sacks, then you're taking away potential rushed throws. So there's less pick-offable balls for your defensive backs. I think, interceptions, fumbles, etc. They can be. You can have a drought for a couple of weeks and then 15 come at once or something like that. You don't naturally go out and record 3 turnovers every single week. So I think they will come, and I think what I'm happy about this year is we haven't really given up major yardage. Joe Burrow, who obviously guided the Bengals to the Super Bowl. You had Jamar Chase, you had T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and all that. They could have, if again it goes down to the defensive line, but they could, if Joe Burrow had the time, he could have shredded our theoretically he could have shredded our defense with those wide receivers. He didn't. Our wide receivers were on their wide receivers. Who was it? Chase only had something like 1 catch. Look at this week. Kadarius Toney didn't have any catches. Golladay was targeted 3 times.
Kenny
didn't have
Golladay.
anything.
The biggest bust in free agency. My goodness.
Yeah. Shepard
36 million if they cut him right now. Ooh, dead money. Ooh.
Ooh.
Yep.
That's crazy.
I just think the interceptions will come.
Yeah.
But the main thing is we're still getting the pass. We're defending the ball.
Yep.
And it's not like the Rod Marinelli years where it was a case of let them catch the ball, move the ball down the field, and let them have these 9-10 play drives. Don't give up the 20-yard pass, the 40-yard pass, or whatever. Let them get 5-6 yards or whatever. We're still defending the ball. We're breaking up passes. We're just not getting the interceptions. Those will come.
Yeah, just to kind of highlight as well, it's like I'm just looking at the Commanders stat line right now. So Antonio Gibson, the running back, he's 124 rushing yards with a 3.1 average with 2 touchdowns. Terry McLaurin, who's probably been their most consistent wide receiver right now, he's 235 yards with 12 targets with an average of 19.6, which is actually pretty decent. So we do need to kind of keep our eye out for him.
But you know the one thing about Terry that's key, and you'll see this early, I think, in my opinion. If you look at the time he's touched the ball for the first time in each of the 3 games, he hasn't touched the ball in the first quarter. It's either second quarter or third before he gets his first touch.
I've never noticed that.
So I'm thinking out the gate in the first drive and then the first 3 plays, they're going to throw it out there to Terry because they have not gotten him involved early.
Yeah, and that would be very interesting to see. And I'm just kind of looking down the list as well. So you've got Curtis Samuel, 181 yards, 8.2 average. Joan Dotson, 109 yards with a 12.1 average. So it's like you're saying, it's like those 9-10 yards, Lauren, and stuff like that. So it's definitely something we need to kind of make sure we keep an eye on. But if our defensive front can get to Carson Wentz before he even executes the ball out, then we should be okay. I mean, there is the threat, and this is what you were trying to say. It could be that game next where it might we might be overconfident with because we're thinking about the Rams and the Eagles in upcoming weeks. But yeah,
where I think we need to look at this week. The one thing I went back and watched the Philadelphia game against the Commanders. The Commanders are actually quite good at running screen passes at the moment. You know, so if our defensive line is hounding Wentz and he manages to get the ball away, we need our linebackers to step up.
And come Donovan Wilson.
Yep, and Donovan Wilson. All these guys coming up from the secondary, but we'll need a good game, I think, this week from Van Der Esch, Barr, and co sniffing out these screens and getting in position to defend them.
Yeah, if there was one thing, there was probably the criticism I could probably give the defensive front is like they overcommitted the rush and let Daniel Jones for the Giants to escape and run upfield. Whereas in this occasion, they need to be more on the conservative side and actually see if what Wentz is doing, if it's going to be a screen pass and move out, essentially. So, but yeah, any guys, do you have any last thoughts before we move into fantasy legend?
Right. And the only other thing I would say too, where Daniel Jones was, and we talked about the Patriots because they kind of have the same issue, right? The interior of their offensive line isn't good for Washington. Kind of the same thing with the Giants, and they kind of took advantage. And I said, well, they'll have to get to the quick pass, right? And some of the screen plays. One thing I didn't really factor into that was some RPO action, which Brian Daboll definitely did that over there with 17, big guy, big arm. What's his name? Buffaloes.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. God bless. Jeez. I'm too far down the rabbit hole in the NFCs right now. But here's the thing about Carson Wentz that I would bring up as well. We've seen him use the RPO and be good at the RPO. And I think that's something that Washington will kind of look at from the film from us versus the Giants and say, oh, Daniel Jones kind of had some things cooking here with the RPO. We might have to pay attention to that too and be ready for that come Sunday.
It's definitely something that the actual team Washington were not really renowned for, but since like bringing in Wentz and obviously with the weapons available, I think that's definitely worth definitely someone like it's no Kellen Moore, Dan Quinn and Aidan Dudley and all the rest of the coaching staff will need to kind of make sure and just make sure that they just watch for the screens, watch for the options and stuff like that. So, but yeah, guys, without further ado, let's jump into the fantasy lounge and get everyone's predictions. So, everyone at home watching the stream right now, you know how the game works. It's basically I'm going to read out the player's name and the projected fantasy football points, and you can either say higher or lower, or oh boy, or boy, so boy oh boy going up, or oh boy going down. So either way, higher or lower. So with that being said, let's kick into it right now. Okay, so for the Dallas Cowboys, Cooper Rush, 15.6 fantasy points. Higher or lower? Jamie, we'll start off with you.
I'm going to go lower, only because I think we touched about it early on. I think last few weeks the run game has been getting a bit of traction, so I think the Cowboys will probably focus a little bit more on that this week, which will affect his status.
Lauren?
I think Michael Gallup will play this week. I think that will help Cooper Rush. Just give it another element to this offense, and so I'm going to go higher.
Oh, okay. All right. Next.
I'm going to go a smidge higher, not much. I'm going to give him 16.
All right, so let's have a wee look at the comments here. So Joe, our good friend from Italy, he's went with higher. The Big Labasti, he says higher. Michael Gallup, bombs away. Benny Castro, sorry if I do not pronounce your name correctly. I do apologize. Cooper Clutch higher. And finally, Gilbert is saying higher. So the mass majority is going higher. So for me, I'm going to go higher. And before I move on to the next one, I do need to take a wee note of this actually, because for our fantasy football stores, so you'll be on the scorecard now next.
Oh boy!
Oh yes. So let me see. So Paul, I went with a high. Amy, you went low. Yes.
Yeah, Jimmy went lower.
Jimmy went low. Lauren went high, and next went high. Okay,
smidge high.
Just a smidge high. Yeah, but yeah, like just so you know, so Michael Gallup's not actually part of the list we've got here, but he is projected to get 8.6 points for this game. So, but we're not really doing a higher low on him. But as you see, for the next guy, we are going to grade CeeDee Lamb with 10.4. Higher or lower, and we'll go the opposite direction. We'll start with you next.
Going 10.4, is that what it was?
10.4.
See, 86 yards. 10.4, I'm going higher.
All right. Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, if you go by Monday night stats there, I think that would be higher anyway. So I think, potentially this is... I'm going for a high scoring win in this week as well. So yeah, I'm going to go that higher.
All right, Jamie.
Right. I'm gonna have to go with the flow of what I said for Cooper Rush. I think slightly lower, maybe a point lower, just for the fact that I say I think they're going to more in the run game.
Just to kind of put this in perspectives, like Lamb only needs to get 44 yards and a touchdown to get.
Come on.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
But he's only got one touchdown so far.
So
in 3 games
as well.
Yeah, that's it.
The touchdown will be key.
How are you explaining this, Paul? And I like literally after this week for my fantasy thing, I'm gonna have to not show my face on these shows again.
well, with that being said, my prediction for CeeDee Lamb is going to be higher. I think it'll be a smidge higher. I would say roughly in the 12-point mark would have been a more fair assessment. So Jamie is picking up the slack with Graham Bean going, that's a burn, that one. So let me go for the comments again with what everyone else is saying. So Benny going with higher. Labarski's going with high. Gilbert's going with high. DG Dog is going for a touchdown and at least 60 yards higher for CeeDee Lamb. I love it. And
I'd just like to say for Labarski as well. I mean, Graham was actually smiling on Tuesday, so it's not what we've been doing this season.
To be fair, Labarski did come in with the best end of the show comment ever and really caught Graham off guard. If you haven't seen it on Tuesday's post-game show, go and check it out. Labarski came on with the fire right at the end. So next guy on the list, I'll just let the stream come across. It's Ezekiel Elliott with 11.3 points. And we'll start with you, Leon, this time.
Is this a PPR league that we're doing this in?
Just the standard,
Half,
yeah.
half,
Okay.
I think it's
Gotta
half
make sure here.
Half PPR, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. Again, I mean, 73 yards and a touchdown, that would be higher than 11 points. So, yeah, let's if he can do what he managed to do in the Giants game, I think, yeah, let's go higher again.
All right. So Lauren has went with 3 highs and a low. Next, what do you think?
What's that number again?
It was
11.3.
11.3.
I know he did it last week, but he hasn't done it before then. I'm going to go lower.
Ooh, okay. All right. Jamie?
Higher. He's getting 20 points.
There he is. All right. I'm going to say, in fact, I will explain actually. So see if it's within 1 full point within each other. You can say that as even. That's fair. So see if it was like, it's projected as 10 points for you. Think it might be 11, like half, like couple of small margins up above. You can say even. So I think it's near on the ballpark. I think so. I'm saying even.
Yeah.
All right. So let me see with the comments. So Joe is saying Zeke way higher. Gilbert's coming in with higher because they're going to utilize the run more. Love it. And do we have any more before we move on, guys? I will bring up your comments when we're talking about Tony Pollard. And speaking about Tony Pollard, he is on 8.3 fantasy points. Jamie.
Higher
for Tony Pollard. All right. Lauren.
Yeah, I'll stick with the theme. I'm going higher as well, I think.
Lauren said he's buying everything.
Oh, I've got the Kool-Aid somewhere, you know.
Next.
Oh yeah, to the moon. Starting. If you got him in your league, you should start him. He's going to the moon this week, and part of that reason is simply why I went lower on Zeke and higher for Pollard is they do still have some guys in the middle, but the edges have a problem. And boy, where does Pollard excel is on those edges. So I think with this run game being effective, they are going to run the rock. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I think Pollard's got a huge touchdown run in him this week.
All right. So for me, I tend to agree what you just said there. Next, I think with the 1-2 punch combination and way how this Washington defense are right now, kind of a lot of question marks. You can't say like, what was it, 8.3? I think it's a bit it feels like a bit of an insult more than anything. So I definitely seen it being more of a 10-point plus. So I am definitely going to say higher. All right. I think this is the biggest slap in the face of all of them, personally, is Noah Brown. 6.7 points. I know, guys. Oh, wait, sorry. Before I move on to Noah Brown, let's see where everyone else is saying in the comments. So Benny's went for Tony Pollard, higher than 85 yards rushing. Gilbert, higher for Tony Pollard. Labarski's going higher too. I think he will be the featured back in this one. Yep, it's just backing up what Nick was saying there. Joe going for higher. All right. But yeah, so like I said, Noah Brown, 6.7. And we'll start with Lauren.
You know where Lauren's in. Look, whatever it is, Lauren's going higher. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see the number being. I can see why the number's a little bit lower. If you have got Gallup in, you know, that's obviously going to be taking numbers away. And
I think here's the question for that. It's like, how much is Gallup going to feature in his first game? I don't expect him to be there throughout the whole game, like, and especially with it. And we're talking about like some continuity here and that. How much is Cooper Rush actually thrown to Gallup during practice and stuff like that? We don't know. So
yeah. But I mean, I can't see Noah Brown suddenly dropping off. So,
No.
yeah, it's got to be higher again.
Jamie.
Higher, but not by much. I'm going to stick with the theme.
Okay.
I'm going to stick with the theme of the run game, but I still think that even for that, that's still fairly low, isn't it?
It's a bit of an insult, I think, personally. Next, I think it's easy to kind of determine where you're going with this one.
I don't know, guys.
Really? Oh, okay.
I don't know, because I'm with you. I do think Gallup's going to be on a bit of a pitch count, right? I do think that. But I know also I can be wrong. So
remember, you can say even. You can say So you do have that option.
It's not a PPR league 6.9. I'm gonna go with. I mean, last week he didn't get the, he didn't get the touchdown. Only 54 yards, gentlemen. Right? If we're not counting the catches, right? The regular doesn't count your PPRs, right? It doesn't count the catches, right? The regular league is just yardage and touchdowns, right?
It's just yardage and touchdowns. Yeah.
I mean, he didn't score that last week. He only had 54 yards, guys. No touchdown. I'm gonna take the lower.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna take the lower.
All right. We'll go into the comments again. So Benny's going higher at least. No, so that's no burn. Yeah, higher, 75 at least. Labarce is saying this is easy, higher, 70 plus and a touchdown. So we're expecting like
if he gets a touchdown, he's there, right? I mean,
yeah, that's it pretty much. Yeah, if he gets a touchdown, that's him. Got it pretty much. Higher, he has been consistent. Yeah, I can't think, unfortunately, with how those Giants referees played the part.
Oh yeah,
that
could have had a huge game. He could have had a huge game.
There should have been it should have been like a 12 to 13 points at least that last game. Gallup will be in the pitch count from Joe. Labarski, the rush burn chemistry is real, and Joe is actually went lower. So you're not the only one. So we've actually had, two lows from yourself, Nix, and one from Joe, who's hailing all the way from Italy. All right, and finally, from the Cowboys' perspective, it was the Cowboys' defense, and I believe it was 7.6 points?
7.9, I think.
7.9. Yes, 7.9. So, and that kind of seems to be the average they're going about right now. They've had like an 8.1 and an 8.2 and a 6.9. So on average, it's kind of even. So we'll start off with yourself next. Go back in reverse order again.
Okay, I'm going to go higher because I think Turpin's going to take one to the house.
Oh, we're finally okay. All right,
I'm going higher because Turpin takes one to the house. That's where I'm at.
All right, okay. Lauren.
Come on, Lauren.
Go on.
Stay on the train, Lauren. Come on, let's go.
Here we go. Kool-Aid.
Yeah, let's go. Yes.
We're going higher.
All the way up, Lauren. Ain't no stopping him. He's all the way
Ain't
up. Let's
no
go.
stopping him now.
He's on the move.
Jamie, Cowboys defense 7.9, higher or lower?
Yeah. I'm getting on the Knicks Kool-Aid here. Higher. And Turpin, it's got how he's been returning the game in the return game is a little bit like how what was his name now? The kid from North Carolina that went to the Steelers after us, Ryan Switzer.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
He was bursting week after week. He was getting more. And, he's just the guy is so explosive. He's fun to watch.
Yep. For myself, I'm expecting a high sack count against this offensive line. I'm expecting Wentz to make mistakes, not dealing with the speed factor of how our defensive front operate. I'm going to go way higher.
Oh, let's go.
I'm going way higher.
Clean sweep, baby.
All right. So now we've covered the Cowboys. Here comes the Commanders. All right. Carson Wentz, 15.5 points.
I'm going to be the opposite of Lauren. Lower. Just go ahead and mark me across the board. Lower. I'm all the way.
Yeah.
All the way across
all of this is lower. Yeah.
So, Lauren, you're going low?
Yep.
So, Jamie.
Oh, it's going well lower than that.
All right, and I'm gonna say even on this one.
Oh, you're thinking them garbage time yards, ain't you? Look
Yeah,
at you. Look at you. I see what you're doing there.
I'm thinking garbage time, and the way how I'm typing this up, H is high, E is for even, and L is for low. So my string of answers actually spells out he right now.
That's great.
Oh, sorry, I actually forgot to cover the guys, the comments for all the defense. So,
No, run it.
Yep. So Labarski's went lower for the defense.
No. Up above that. Yeah, keep going up a
oh
bit higher.
yes,
There you
thank
go.
you. There we go. Gilbert's went for higher defensive scores. Dallas defense over from DJ Dog. Turnovers will happen along with the sacks. Higher Wentz is a turnover machine. We're going to have like 22 sacks. Labarski, I wish that was true, man.
That's great. That is great.
And given this defense 70 points, just Wentz gives the ball, but pretty easy. All right. Okay. Now we've got the answers for Carson Wentz. So Labarski's went with lower. Joe's went lower. Commanders marked me down for lower across the board. Again, Labarski coming out. No chance for Wentz. Gilbert going lower. And yeah, Next has got your back. Yes, he does. All right. So the next one on the list, if you keep sliding across, it was Anthony Gibson with 13.3 points. Higher or lower? And we'll start with you, Lauren.
I'll go even on this one just to be slightly different.
Okay.
I think, we've given up one touchdown a week, and I think he'll probably get it. And other than that, it'll be, 20 yards receiving, about 40 yards rushing or so. So, yeah, I think that works to about even.
Yeah, it kind of works up to within the 12 points, 13 points region. Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. Jamie, what are your thoughts? Higher or lower? Lower from Jamie. Straight away. No hesitation. Next, what are we thinking, my friend?
Man, I'm so disappointed in Lauren right now. He was on such a good streak. He was on such a good streak. He was all high. He was looking all in on the all low, and he broke it up. Lower. All
right. I'm kind of in a way, I can see where Lauren is coming with, because you made the point earlier, though, next about the run play option.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I think this could actually be the thing for Gibson to kind of get those extra yards, those early yards, and potentially a touchdown. So I'm kind of inclined to say even as well, unfortunately. I do think it will be lower than what it is, but I think within that 13.3 mark, it's kind of, I can believe that could be the case, but I don't see it being one of those running backs that say, oh, he's 13 points, he had a good game. Nah, it's just pretty much, it could be garbage yards again. Okay, so comments wise, Joe's went with even. Labarski has went even. We haven't yet shown we can shut down the run. Technically, we have, but it's just, I think especially in the interior defense, the defensive line, like sort of De Gazura, they've been managed to kind of force the running back to move out wide to not move upfield as effectively enough. But Gilbert, he's went lower, and only reason it's lower if McKesson gets the receptions. Oh, that's a good shout. The other running back, depending how much they want to kind of swap Gibson in and out. That's a good shout. All right. Next person is Curtis Samuel with 9.9 yards, I believe it was. Yes, 9.9. Yep, 9.9. We'll start for you next.
Man, I'm going lower across the board. I don't care. I ain't saying high for none of these cats. That's where I'm at. Washington is my number one in this division. I don't like. I'm old school that way. So yeah, maybe I'll give him a little love here when we get to this game prediction. Man, put L's across the board. L's for all Washington is where I'm at. Lower.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going that way for the remainder as well.
he's
I'm
back.
going lower on all
He's
the
back.
remainder.
He's back.
baby. Yes.
Jamie, are we going to make this a full circle here? Because I'm going lower.
Oh yeah, definitely went low, man.
Yeah,
Most
definitely.
these this weekend. I know
All
I
right.
was smart and I didn't want to.
Right. Okay. So Joe's went lower, Labarski's went lower, and Gilbert's went lower. So we're lowered across the board in this one. So Terry McLaurin, 9.8, who is the more number one target, which I'm quite surprised about. He's been rated lower in terms of projections than Curtis Samuel, but higher or lower. I'll just let you guys feed it off this time.
Lower.
Lower from Lauren.
The press is down.
Down from next. Jamie.
I'm gonna go slightly higher only because I saw that. I think you're probably knocking on the door of 10 rather than 9.8. But
Yeah. See, I'm inclined to agree with you on that one there because he might get the touchdown. He might just only have like 45 yards or something. That's enough to kind of push it over the line. So I'm going to say higher than that one. Next up, we have is the Washington defense at the final one. Oh, sorry. Before we move that, we've got everyone in the comments. So Labarski, lower for sure, only a TD per game, and I'm only giving that to Gibson. Fair enough. I agree with Nick's lower across the board from Gilbert.
Let's go, Gilbert.
Lower from Joe from Italy, and lower we'll get one on Diggs for Gamble. So that's for the defense. Sorry, I'll go back to that in a wee second. Okay, so like I said, the Washington defense is 5.6?
5.8, I think it was.
5.8. Yes, it was
5.8. Yep.
Yep, 5.8. Lauren.
Yeah, lower. Going lower.
All right. Your actual results actually looks like it's spelling out hell. So it does.
That's what really be for Washington Sunday. Hell.
Yes.
We're gonna let Carson Wentz dig his own grave first of all before we put him in it. So
I mean, hey, they're breaking out the black jerseys. That's what you wear for a funeral. It'll be Carson
Wentz. We said that early in the start of the show. It's like Washington are just coming up for a fashion statement or going to a funeral rather than
just like the Giants did last week, bringing out the all whites, and apparently the Eagles are breaking out the black hats.
It's because it's always against the Cowboys. They want to kind of look good. They want to look good on Monday Night Football, primetime TV. So Lauren's went lower. Next, I know your answer. That's going to be lower. Big L. Jamie.
Lower. The Cowboys are scoring some serious points this weekend.
Yep, I'm going all low in this one. So finally for everyone in the chat, Joe's went lower. Big Lebowski lower. We would get 1-on-1. Diggs Gamble. Gilbert's went lower. Lebowski again coming down with lower. I think our offense on this game and the rush restrictions it doesn't turn over. And Joe has made the comments that I'm with Nick's not giving these dead. Oh, we can't say that anymore. Nothing but the lower score. So we can still call on the team without a proper good name or something like that. There we go. So with that being said, let's get our final score predictions. And I'm going to start off in alphabetical order. Lauren. No, Jamie. My God, my alphabetical order is just. I was trying to figure it out there for a wee second there. So,
on his fingers and toes.
I was trying to get the alphabet with my hands there. Jamie, so give me your score predictions, and everyone at home, put in your score predictions. We'll get them displayed up, and we'll read it out. And let's go.
I'm going to stick to this trend that the Cowboys are going to absolutely trounce these people on. saying people politely. Again, I'm going to swear and call them something else advice to do, but 41-10 to the Cowboys.
41-10. All right. I'll take a note of that. Okay. Jamie went for 41-10. Next will be Lauren.
Yep. So I'm going 38-11.
38-11. Okay.
Oh.
Am I seeing a pattern here?
Nick's is going to go 9-6 to the Cowboys here, isn't he?
Man, look, and here comes a little bit of dose of reality, ladies and gentlemen. Let me set my Kool-Aid down for a second. Look, we've won 2 games in a row. Okay.
Yep.
However, there's been moments in both these games that could have went left for them, right? Offensive, right? And even in the third quarter, right? You were down 13-6 on the road to the Giants. So I do think the Cowboys win. I do think the style of game that they're playing and what's happening and where the Washington Commanders are currently, I think it's going to be a little bit tighter game, guys. I do think the Cowboys win, though. I do think the Cowboys win. I think the Cowboys are going to win this game 24-13.
All right. Okay. 24-13 for next. For myself, I'm kind of in the kind of ballpark. If we look at the 3 games in a row, we've managed to keep every single offense down to 20 points. So I'm going to keep on with that theme. And I'm going to say it's going to be slightly above 24, but below 38. So I'm going to say Cowboys 31, Washington Commanders 17.
I like it.
Right.
I like it.
What did I say? 31? Yeah, 31. I said
31-17.
But I almost forgot my own score there. My God. But yes, let me see in the comments here, get everyone's predictions up. So Joe is going for 40-15 for Dallas. Labarge is going 27-13. Gilbert's went for 35-6. Wow. Okay. I like it. I hope that's the case.
I just want to caution Cowboys Nation. One thing that I've been able to take to the bank when it comes to the Cowboys, when it's like there's no way they can win, Bengals, they win. Then it's, oh, you're feeling good. Oh, the Cowboys are ready to explode, and everyone has them winning big.
Yeah. That's why
I had to bring in a little bit of the. Oh, it's gonna be a tight game.
as the great Brad Sham, the voice of the Dallas Cowboys, always says to us on our show, it's like, take this game at a time. Don't think about the next game. Just think about this game and think about this one. Don't get ahead and try and get your hopes up. Just think about the now moment. So, but yes, that has been our preseason game show, guys. And as you may know, we'll be back on Tuesday for the post-game show with Brian hosting. We might have some special guests on. I'm not entirely too sure, but we will keep you posted. But yes, with that being said, we'll...
Just quickly, Paul, sorry for jumping in. Just because it's only because I've just noticed it now. This week's the first of the London games, isn't it? So if anybody...
Oh, yes, of course.
This to London, be sure to send pictures to our to the group socials and get it all shared.
That's right. If you're a part of the UK Cowboys fans and you're going to these London games, it's coming up right now. I think this weekend is the Jags and Broncos game. Is that right?
No, it's Saints Vikings.
Vikings.
Yeah. You've got the halftime show of Youngblood as well. So
wow, that'll be pretty cool. I should quite like Youngblood. He's got some good songs. But anyhow, but yes. But as you may see, our special guest here next. Tell us where can everyone find you and where to follow, and we'll actually get our little banner up so we can actually show you where you are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah, the Pick Six right there between I got J Tuck and Will Steele. The Wheels of Steel, Young Skywalker Steel, that is. Pick Six Sports over here on YouTube is where you can come find us every Wednesday and every Friday, 8:30 p.m. Central. You can catch me, Spoonie, Mary Ella. I got Professor O, aka Matt Owen, in the building delivering that content. We actually have midday shows rolling now with Camber, Massey, and our guy Stevie J as well. And I just crossed over the 3,900 follower mark. I'm marching my way to 4K on Twitter. So if you want to come follow me, as I said on the bottom of my picture throughout tonight's show, or day show for me, though. Over here in the big old East Texas, the Piney Woods, as we call it. It's simply at your_guy_Knicks NIX, and come give me a follow, because as soon as we wrap here, I'm actually going to go over there and run a Twitter space and talk about this potential trap game. But the Cowboys are winning, though. Don't fall for the cheese.
Yep, so be sure to go and check out Nick's, and go and check out his Twitter space and join in the conversation, because I don't know how many times I've came onto the Twitter space and actually way past my bedtime and just can't stop talking about football, and it's been great. So yeah, be sure to go and check him out.
This is my home away from home over here with you guys, man. I love coming over here, man.
Yeah, so before we do finish off,
you on as well.
Yeah, definitely. So before we do finish off, guys, be sure to go and check out our sponsor as well, Cowboys Experience, for the ultimate meet and greet, stadium tours, game tickets, and tailgate experience. Get to meet players like Michael Parsons, Jay Novacek, Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, even the Hall of Famer Drew Pearson will be there in attendance. Be sure to use the code UK Cowboys. Guys, what do you use if you get the discount code?
You get free stuff.
You get free stuff. And with that,
it gets no better.
Yeah, and with our sponsor for next year, next year we'll be having our own UK Cowboys fans travel package. So all the information will be available on our Facebook group for more details. If you want to contact Cowboys Experience directly as well, you can get more information from them there also. But with that being said, guys, it's been an absolute honor. Next, thank you for coming onto the show.
Appreciate
Jamie,
you,
the godfather of UK Cowboys, and my fellow countryman, Lauren. It's a good night from all of us. And yes, go Cowboys.
Let's do it.
Yep. Come on.
3-1, baby.
3-1, baby.